All right, we better make a start because we've got quite a bit of stuff to go through. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so it'll be about 40 minutes today. We're going to go through some strategies on how financial advisors specifically can generate leads on LinkedIn. For those of you that haven't actually met me personally before, my background's in digital marketing, and I've moved into exclusively LinkedIn in the last 12 months. I do believe that at the moment, particularly in the wealth management industry, there is a unique opportunity to grow your networks and build your client base extremely fast at the moment. One of the things that I've noticed as a trend on LinkedIn is it is moving more towards making it difficult to connect with people that you don't necessarily know and build your connections so quickly. So the strategies that we use today may not be as effective next year. And I say that because I've seen what's happened in the US, and generally what happens is there's a little bit of a lag between what happens in Australia and what happens in America. And over there, the users of LinkedIn, first of all, they're quite sophisticated in their privacy settings. So in order to avoid, spam and that kind of thing, they have their privacy settings turned up to the point where, it's very hard to connect with people that you don't know or send messages to people in groups and that kind of thing. And the other thing is, like LinkedIn's now restricting the number of searches that you can do every month, which really is their efforts to monetize what's happening on LinkedIn. So it's moving away from becoming a free platform and becoming more of a paid tool for sales and recruitment, which is what happened with Facebook. So how do I believe that people can do it? Through LinkedIn. And this is specifically why there's 1 in 3 of professionals on the planet are on LinkedIn, which is a phenomenal number of people for any website to have. There's only just over half of the population on the world that have internet at all. So the fact that 1 in 3 professionals are on there is amazing. The other trend that I'm following is online dating. So the statistic is that 1 in 3 marriages now originate from the internet, which tells me that that's the way that relationships are going to be heading professionally. We'll follow that trend. And the guys that are going to be benefiting from LinkedIn are the salespeople that are proactive in contacting people that they don't necessarily know. Because salespeople back in the day used to be good if they could pick up the telephone and call somebody they don't know. The only issue with that is these days is it doesn't work. First of all, it's very difficult to get through to the person, decision maker. And second of all, it's very hard to, within the first 60 seconds, to get the other person talking and show them they should have interest in you. Whereas on LinkedIn, you can avoid both of those issues by connecting with the decision maker fast and also showing interest in what they do, and they can just by a few clicks find out the information that they need. So this is Seth Godin, and this is one of his quotations: selling to people that actually want to hear from you is more effective than interrupting strangers that don't. So it may seem that what I'm suggesting that we do is we go out and spam, send messages to everyone trying to generate leads within our target demographic, which is actually the complete opposite of what I believe that is most effective on LinkedIn. When we talk about connecting with people that we don't necessarily know or messaging, we do it in a way that actually shows interest in what they do and finding out more information from them to start a conversation. And the profile that you have on LinkedIn will do its job of explaining what you do. You don't actually have to do that anymore. Your profile will do it, and if it's set up correctly, it'll be your customers, clients, business partners, and all that kind of thing that are doing the selling for you. So I encourage you all to post content. That's something that you really should think about doing, but don't make the mistake of publishing content and not doing anything else, because it's only as good as the people that see it at the end of the day. And this is Richard Branson. He's one of my idols. I've read all his books and look up to the guy quite a lot. And he says business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. And I believe that this is true, but it also means that they come and go very quickly. And so what we can capitalize on in the next 12 months, won't be available in 12 months' time. There'll be something else. It's a bit like 12 years ago, we could get to the top of Google and get 10 inquiries every day for relevant keywords. You can't do that these days because Google's too intelligent and there's too much competition. So the same thing happened with Google advertising. The same thing will happen with social media, and we can already see it starting to begin on Facebook. Just some industry-specific stats for you. 7 in 10 financial advisors are already using social networks for business purposes. Okay, well, using social networks for business purposes is one thing. A lot of people would say, you know, I'm already on LinkedIn, I've got that covered, we've all got profiles set up, we've got a company page, etc., etc. The question that I generally have when I hear that is, well, how many new clients are you generating from LinkedIn? And I normally get a sort of a blank stare, because people are starting to see LinkedIn as an actual lead generation database, as opposed to just, you know, a reference point for people to check on. So unless you're actually using it to generate, you know, 20, 30 leads per salesperson, then I suggest that you're probably not getting as much out of it as you should. So 9 in 10 financial advisors use their social network to turn to LinkedIn. Well, that's pretty obvious. That's where people are to do business. I mean, I remember when I started LinkedIn, that's exactly why I chose the platform. Social networks used for business. Here we go, 91% among financial advisors who use at least, you know, LinkedIn for business. This is quite an important part, because a lot of people think that Google is where they should be focusing all their attention. And look, it's true. A lot of the searches do originate from Google, but what we're finding is more and more of those searches are actually ending up on LinkedIn. And the reason for that is Google's looking for websites with high authority. The social media websites are perfect because they've got so many inbound links, so much activity on them. The content's always being updated. So invariably they rank towards the top. So if anybody searches for your name, if your profile's, you know, half filled out, then it should rank #1 immediately. And you'll notice that there's a lot of people using keywords instead of their name to get to the top. And the funny thing is, it works. You know, it's just a personal branding decision as to whether or not you would do that. It is definitely frowned upon by LinkedIn. The other thing that helps is your URL here. You'll notice that I've got au.linkedin.com/in then /my name. So that's actually customized, and that will help with your search engine optimization as well. So you might want to jot that down. Okay, now with anything in marketing or sales or business in general, you must always start with a strategy. Too often I hear of people who get a quick tip about posting content or engaging in groups, and off they run and spend, you know, 3 hours a day for the next couple of weeks trying it and wonder why it doesn't work at the end of it. The idea behind LinkedIn is only just one cog in your whole, you know, digital marketing strategy. And it's very much a people-to-people aspect of it. So if you're fantastic at posting in groups, got fantastic content, and you're building your networks with people in your target demographic, but you haven't got a website, you haven't got any sort of credibility to back it up, you're not members of any organizations, there's no substance behind your profile, it's not going to work. So you kind of need it all to be there. And the fortunate thing is, a lot of people in the financial advisory space, they do have all of that. They just need the next step, which is actually, how do I go and you know, connect with people without doing it in a spammy way? So that's what we're going to go through today. So I'm going to get straight into it. Like, this is the stuff that we generally go through in the second half of the day when we do full day seminars. And we're going to go into the 4-step lead generation strategy. It was a 3-step strategy up until a couple of months ago, but I had to add a 4th one. So I'll tell you why in a minute. But this is some of my clients. I mean, we've got people from all different kinds of industries, and it's great to see a strategy mapped out and executed with the objective achieved. And so generally what I find is that most people want to be on LinkedIn to get more customers. Okay, especially in financial advisors. So these are the guys that I tend to connect with the most, because that's definitely why I started using LinkedIn. And if you want to get more customers, then obviously you're going to create a profile that's a lot different than somebody who wants to get a job, for example. So you want your profile to be almost like a mini website that engages with your audience. And then the other thing is, the reason that there's a big shift away from websites into social media is because of this concept called social proof, which I'll go through as well, where people are looking for third-party endorsements and engagement and recommendations to make sure that you're good at what you do. So all of that is part of the strategy. So I've simplified it to 4 steps, so you can all jot these down and implement this straight away after the webinar. But before you do that, it's important that you do create a personal brand. So if you haven't got one, just jot down some ideas about what are your values, what's important to you, why are you passionate about what you do, what makes you different, what are your unique selling propositions. If you can jot down a few ideas which are quite specific and quite different, you'll find that the results are a lot better. With the financial advisors in particular, I noticed that a lot of financial advisors, if times are tough or they're looking to expand their business, they actually bolt on services. So now all of a sudden you do super, tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all these different kind of things, and deal with all these different kinds of industries. But when you're on LinkedIn, you can actually decide which areas or which niches you want to specialize in, because there's 6.5 million people on there in Australia alone. And you will actually find that your conversions go up through the roof when you specialize. So figure out who is your target market. Is it dentists in particular? Could you be the dentist superannuation specialist in Melbourne? Something as specific as that. You'll find that when you approach people in that particular niche, you'll get a huge response, because at the end of the day, you're the dental specialist. Why would I go anywhere else if I was a dentist? Okay, so write your summary. This is important because this is the part that people will read if they read anything at all. So it must be in first person. Use relevant keywords where possible. Superannuation is a great example. That's a keyword that's searched for a huge amount on Google. The abbreviations such as SMSF are also relevant. So include both of them so that you show up for those search phrases. And be personable, sympathetic, show that you understand your customer's problems. So it's a good idea to identify the problem first. So you might say something like, frustrated. I found that a lot of people find it frustrating that it's hard to find financial advisors that you can trust, or financial advisors that understand the dental industry, for example. And then say, so this is what I do. This is why I'm passionate about, helping my clients, et cetera, et cetera. And then one more thing is just have a call to action at the end. What's the next step? So if people want to discuss their financial situation with you, what's your email address, et cetera, et cetera. Social proof. Okay, so most of you would know these websites like Urban Spoon, TripAdvisor, Google Places. The reason that these websites are so successful is basically people can post comments, recommendations, like give a score out of 5 stars, for example, and you can tell which restaurants are going to be the best, which are the best hotels to stay at, et cetera, et cetera. So what's happening is no longer can the brand define who they are. It's actually the customers doing it. So the brand is being defined by the clients and the customers. So the ones that are going to thrive are the ones that are really good at what they do. And the ones that won't are the ones that either aren't good at what they do, or they could be good at what they do. They just don't grasp this concept, and they're missing out on this huge amount of customers that are doing their research online. So if I'm spending an hour doing my research online as to which financial advisor I want to use, I mean, you want to be in front of that potential client for as much of that hour as possible. And if you can have all this social proof happening and recommendations and things like that, then it'll help. So this is a skills and expertise box. You would have all seen this for endorsements. There's probably a lot of you that have found that people will endorse you who you've never met before. And I often joke around that I could probably put, film director as one of my skills on here, and I think you could build up the endorsements rather quickly. So the reason for that, obviously, is there's this law of reciprocity. I always have problems pronouncing that word, but if you do endorse other people, they tend to endorse you back, which is why a lot of people you don't know are doing it. So I'm not suggesting that you go and often endorse a whole bunch of people that aren't relevant to what you do. But if you do know somebody that's in your business network who you could have just even had a meeting with once that is reasonably knowledgeable about a certain area, then endorse them and they'll endorse you back. I know for a fact that if you went out and endorsed like 1,000 people tomorrow, for example, then you'd very quickly get over 100 endorsements for a couple of your skills there. Tips on getting recommendations. This is something that a lot of my clients will struggle with. And the reason for that is because there's a disconnect between the technology side of it. So it's actually, how do I, first of all, find the button to click to get to submit a recommendation? So you have to help guide people through that. And then also, I'd always suggest to draft something up, because people are nervous about what to write. Maybe they don't even have the time. So if you offer to draft something up, then you've got you can actually write it yourself and offer to to them to make changes. But I wouldn't be presumptuous and just send them a recommendation and say, can you post this? I think that's quite presumptuous and rude. So always ask people that you've done business with that have had a good experience. Don't ignore a request if somebody asks you for one. Be careful about how you recommend. Keep them updated, and of course, goes without saying, say thank you and return gestures where possible. Before we just go into those 4 steps, I just want to raise the question: what's the secret to high conversion rates on social media? Because this applies across the board with any social media website. And the secret is, you might want to write this down, is it's not about you. Okay, so what I mean by that is, when somebody is looking at your LinkedIn profile, or they're reading a message from you, or even reading some of your content, all you've got to be mindful of is that all they're thinking is, what's in it for me? 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 And if you keep that in mind with everything you do, then you'll find that all of your content and the way you approach people, all that kind of thing, all of a sudden will be a lot different, because you'll be mentioning the word you a lot more and less about me. So just write that down. It's not about you, and try and use that across the board. So the step 1 is to find the right people. Okay, so there's obviously a search bar. There's a whole lot more to the way you can find people on LinkedIn. Your network will define how many people and what people you can find. If you've got a crappy network, then you're only going to find crappy people because that's who they're connected with. So if you've got a network full of CEOs, then that's people you're going to find, because basically you'll see your first connection show up in the search results first, and then you're going to see all of their connections. So you really want to build a high quality network as opposed to just volume. So this is the advanced search bar, which is next to the main keywords search tool at the top of LinkedIn. If you click on the advanced search bar, you'll find that you can be extremely specific with the way that you search for people. You can go drill down industries, number of employees, even postcodes within a 15-kilometer radius. So I'd encourage you to just have a look at that and play around with it a little bit, because you can get quite specific. If you can't find anyone showing up in the search results, then groups are the way to do it. So you notice here, like you see first connections, second connections of group members. This is with your standard membership. So unless you upgrade, that's all you're going to see. So if you go out, if you want to connect with like personal trainers, for example, if you go and connect, join a personal training LinkedIn group, then all of a sudden you'll get hundreds of people in the search results, whereas before you may not have got any. Okay, so these are some of the groups. Just bear in mind as well that the groups may be global, in which case you probably want to find ones that are more just in Australia. So even if they've got 30,000 members, if they're all in the US or whatever, then it may not be relevant to what you do. Step 2, connect. Okay, so there is a way that you can message people without connecting. However, when you do that, you do come across as quite spammy. Like we've done it, and it works for a number of campaigns. If it's a really good product, and the message is really good, and we can get out a lot of messages. We do it through the groups, by the way, in the members section. But if you connect with people, it's almost like they've just accepted the fact that you're part of their network, and it's a touch point. So we all know that in sales, I think my first sales coach I ever had told me there's 7 touch points for a sale. Well, this is the first one. You send a connection request and they accept, and then after that you can engage with them. So if they accept your connection request and you send them a message, immediately it's almost like we've got this discussion happening already, because they've just accepted my connection request. I'm sending them a message, and you think about it, they just said, hey, yes, join my network. It's a little bit like they've just invited you into their cocktail party. You're not going to run in there and say, oh, this is what I do, I'm offering these specials, blah, 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 blah. You're actually going to say, how are you? What is it you do? That kind of thing. So think of it in that context and engage. So this is an example of what not to do, right? This is one of the ones that I picked out of my inbox. and it says we are blah, 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 offering blah, blah, blah. We have certain more digital solutions, blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's the sort of thing that people would write instinctively, but will just never work because I just don't care what's in it for me. I can't. No, I'm not interested. And so the next one that is one of the ones that we used for one of our clients. And look, I've had a look at your profile and interested in catching up. We're seeking someone in the building industry that's serious about their growth objectives, and it seems like it could be an ideal fit. How you pay for a telephone chat. So you might be wondering, well, what the hell is that message all about? But the person that's reading it, right, is wondering the same thing. And what he's going to do is he's going to click on Tim's profile link and have a look at his profile and think, okay, he's the CEO of the, he's a member of BNI, he's a CEO, blah, blah, blah. Or we've got 10 people that we know who are in common. Okay, maybe he's, worth having a chat, see what this is all about. So that's actually the role that the message plays. It's almost like just giving him a little nudge in order to create an offline conversation. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they don't pull the conversation offline. So if let's say John replies right now and he says, could you please tell me a bit more what it's about? And then all of a sudden, Tim's gone back to this message. So you want to avoid that, especially if people are asking you questions. You sort of that best way to do it is just to do a couple of lines and just say, absolutely, be happy to answer all your questions. I've actually got a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you as well. What's the best number to reach you on? And pull that conversation offline immediately. So that's step 4, which has really just been added to the content of what our training and all of our seminars in the last couple of months, because I've just seen so many people make this mistake. So it really is an important part. Common misconceptions about LinkedIn. To be successful means spamming your network. Absolutely not. It's the opposite that applies. The more specific and more personalized you can be, the better. And by the way, there's no shortcuts on LinkedIn. You can't use any technology to send out like loads and loads of messages. LinkedIn are extremely, careful about making sure that it's a good quality network. So they protect that side of it. So not to say that you can't outsource it. I mean, that's what my company does. We can send out 100 personalized messages in an hour because we're extremely efficient at it. But it doesn't mean that we can use technology and all that kind of stuff. And we don't believe in spamming the network at all. A lot of people also say, I already have a lot of LinkedIn connections. We're already set up on LinkedIn. We already have profiles. Maybe even got a client through LinkedIn, so you don't need any more help. And look, if you're spending money on advertising, then you should be generating most of your leads on LinkedIn in this space. It's the most effective form that I know, because keep in mind, it's not about LinkedIn. It's about lead generation and getting more customers. And what you'll notice is, like, my background is SEO, et cetera, and then web design, high conversions, AdWords. I've done it all. Like, if you put 100 AdWords guys in a room, because none of them have done degrees, the majority of them, don't know what they're doing, and they waste a huge amount of their budget on irrelevant clicks, irrelevant keywords. The reason that my business focuses solely on LinkedIn is because this is where I can see the opportunity at the moment, and the industry which is going to be impacted the most is going to be the financial services industry, because it's so competitive on Google AdWords. You think about it, people are paying $50 a click in some instances, $150 a click in some cases, some of the banks. And so in order for you to justify that expense, you really have to be a bank, because they've got all the upsells and the lifetime value of their customers is huge. But for the small wealth management company that's looking at from financial planning clients, it's not viable at all. So if you can do the same thing on LinkedIn for the click would cost you a couple of dollars on LinkedIn, but if you can generate leads for anything less than $200 a lead, then you're doing really well. If you can do it less than $100, you're doing it exceptionally well. And then you work out what your client values are from there. So it's important to know your return on investment. LinkedIn won't work for my industry because, look, at the end of the day, we all don't know what we don't know. So just have an open mind about things, and you'll be surprised what you can and can't do on the internet. It's generally just a matter of strategy, finding out what it is that your customers have in common. And look, that's what the professionals are there for, whether it's my company or one of the other strategists out there. The reason that they are in the job is because they're good at strategy, at finding out what is in common. So just like you guys, a fantastic financial advice. That's exactly what we do every day. So do speak to a professional and see what ideas they can come up with. This is an example of a client that we work with, the College for Adult Learning, registered training organisation. The strategy that we went with was just the 4-step process that I just showed you. 505 connection requests. We only got 31% that accepted those connection requests. However, this was all done within about 3 weeks, so a 21-day period. So there would have been more connection requests coming in after that. And then those 160 people got an engagement message similar to the one I showed you, and we got just under 27% response rate, which generated 43 leads. So it's a pretty straightforward process, and the reason I guess it's so successful is because it's people-to-people marketing. It's personal. Okay, so we've managed to wrap up in 30 minutes, which is fantastic, because I want to just give you guys a special freebie for coming along. So if you notice on the right-hand side of your screen, there should be a pop-up with the link on it for a LinkedIn profile review. We do these for $500 generally. Anyone on the call will do them for free. So if you click on that link, you'll actually be able to book them in directly into my calendar, and I'll give you a call and we'll run through your LinkedIn profile for 30 minutes over the telephone, and I'll give you some tips on how you can better position yourself and get some more customers coming in. So thanks everyone for attending today. And if you would like to contact me, my email address is Nathanial@Bibby Consulting Group. It's Nathanial at bibbyconsultinggroup.com.au, and there's our website link on the screen there, www.bibbyconsultinggroup.com.au. Have a great day, everyone, and a fantastic weekend ahead, and thanks for joining us.